How long have you been looking at games wanting to make one, but not knowing how? Well, take the first step by learning how to use Roblox Studio and start earning Robux from your games today! Okay, so here we are within Roblox Studio. If you do not have Roblox Studio installed, the first thing you need to do is install Roblox Studio, and that's pretty easy to do. Just go play any Roblox game and it should automatically install both the Roblox player and Roblox Studio. And if it doesn't install Roblox Studio, just go create any game from the Create tab on the Roblox website and click Edit. And that is automatically going to open up Roblox Studio. When you're in Roblox Studio, just click on any place that you need to enter in, right? So that could be a game that you're working on. If your friend is working on a game, click that, edit it. But you should open up a place. And if you don't know how to do that, just go to File up here and then click New, and it's going to open up a place just like this one. So this video is going to be very raw. It's going to be one take, purely educational. Take your time. If you need to, slow the video down, pause the video, rewind, but it is very important that you learn the basic foundational concepts of how to use Roblox Studio. Because if you want to become a Roblox developer, you need to understand exactly how to use the UI that you see here, the interface, right? So, the first thing you need to do is understand how to actually move in Roblox Studio. And it's quite easy. You use your WASD keys to move forward, back, left and right. You can also use your mouse, hold down your right mouse button and just look around, just like that. And then if you zoom in and out, it's going to zoom in and out. And if you press Q and E, it's going to move down and up respectively, right? So just play around a bit and just make sure that you know how to use those navigational keys in combination with each other. The next step is the essential windows you need to really develop games on Roblox. There are so many windows. I could go up here and you can see there's so many options that you can open up, right? I am not going to go through all of those today. I am only going to give you what you need to start making games as fast as you can without getting confused. So, the number one most important window that you need is the Explorer. So go to Window and click Explorer up here. The Explorer window is your guide. It shows you absolutely everything there is in your game, right? So your game is made up of different services. So anything you can see, touch, and interact with physically with your character is always inside of workspace. So this base plate here, this gray part that you see, you can see that if you click this arrow here and click base plate, you'll find it there. If you deleted this by clicking right click and clicking cut, it's going to get rid of the base plate, right? So the Explorer is literally going to show you everything there is in your game, including things you can't see. So if you want to modify the lighting, you would click the lighting. If you want to modify, for example, any script you have, you would go into server script service and so on, right? But it's basically a collection of containers that make up your game. That is the Explorer tab. The second tab is your Properties tab. So go to Window and click on Properties. Properties and Explorer work in hand together, right? So if you want to modify something, you can't just only have the Explorer tab open. You also need to have the Properties tab open. And the Properties are going to show you the full details of an object. So if you click on any object, like this spawn point here, which is if I play, I'm going to be spawning right there, right? So like if I just click this, you can see that I spawn on this spawn point. If I click on that spawn point and just enlarge this a little bit, so just another quick tip, if you go to the edges of a tab here, you can resize this by holding that and just, you can basically also just modify the tabs and resize them according to whatever you think is best. You can click the title here, click hold, and you can move it around and you can place it whatever you want. This is my personal preference, the way I found make the most sense in my opinion, to be honest, when I'm making games, right? But you can put this anywhere you want. Anyway, back to Properties. Click any object you want, And as you can see, properties gets filled up with a list of properties. And properties are just basically details about an object, right? So if you see a car, the first thing you notice is probably the color of the car. So if there was a car in here and I'm clicking on the car, it's going to show me the color, it's going to show me the engine, it's going to show me what kind of wheels it has, all that stuff, right? But for spawn location, it's going to show me, like I said, the color, it's going to show me the transparency. It's not very transparent at all, it's opaque, right? It's going to show me the material of the object, and it's going to show me a bunch of other information. And this is going to come in very, very handy if you're trying to script on Roblox or build, right? And that's the properties tab. It's very useful, and you can see you can modify any of these properties except the ones that are grayed out, like this one here, the class name. Like if I wanted to change this to red, I would click that property and I would make it red. If I wanted to make it semi-transparent, I would just do that and boom, it's like a glass kind of material now, you see? So properties are extremely handy to have when you're making games. The next, in my opinion, almost one of the most important tabs for a beginner is the toolbox. And you can literally go to window and click toolbox, or just click this icon up here. I'm gonna go up here just for consistency's sake. The toolbox is going to show you a bunch of items that other players made that are free for you to use. So if you're a beginner and you don't know how to build or you don't know how to script something, the toolbox is your friend. I still use the toolbox and I am a very experienced Roblox developer, right? I use it for inspiration. I use it to, something I do is I drag in a noob NPC all the time. So when I'm building my games, I actually know how big my build is. So imagine you're building a house and you need to make sure that the door is the right size so players can go through the door, right? You won't be able to know that if you don't have a reference like this. So what I do is I go to the toolbox and I search up player, for example, or noob or something like that. And I would just drag one that I like in from the toolbox and I would build with this character here on the side. And that gives me a good reference point as to how big my build is. And you can basically search up anything. If you don't know how to code a gun, you can search up gun. And for example, I'm gonna choose this pistol here. And one of the things you need to know is models from the toolbox can have scripts. Sometimes you want them to have scripts. Like this gun, I know I need to have scripts for the gun to work. Otherwise, if I click, nothing's gonna happen. But if you are not careful with the kind of scripts that you implement into your game, it could damage your game. And what I mean by this is there could be malicious scripts in there, right? They're not viruses, it's just the script is going to be malicious because it's going to cause performance issues in your game. It's going to cause memory leaks. It's going to maybe kick players. So Roblox, it didn't used to do this before, but what it does now is when there is a script inside of your model and you attempt to implement that from the toolbox, right? It's going to warn you that there are scripts. You can cancel and it's going to put it back, or you can accept that and it's going to put it in. And if you just open this using the Explore tab we just explored a few minutes ago, you can see there are 3 scripts here. You can open them up, you can read the scripts. It's always good practice to open up any script that you see in a free model just to make sure that it isn't malicious. I'm just going to put this in starter pack just to show you the power of Toolbox. I hope this works. I didn't script this at all, so if it doesn't work, oh, there we go. So imagine you've never made a gun on Roblox, right? This just took you from 0 to 100 very quick, because now you have a gun, it works, and you can start making a game about guns, you know? So that is something that is very important for a beginner like you to understand. And if you're learning to script, one of the biggest things that I advise you to do is to look at the scripts that you implement and actually try and figure out how it's working. So why are these variables here at the top? Why are they there? What happens if I change them? And just explore like that. Just tweak around. you know? But anyway, so that's the toolbox. Very important. The next thing is the basic objects tab. So I'm going to go to Window and I'm going to click Insert Object. And this is very similar to the toolbox, but it is only basic crude objects. And what I mean is, with the toolbox, you can implement sophisticated things that are made by other players. The Insert Basic Objects tab, the stuff that you can insert there is made only by Roblox, and you can only insert the basic building blocks to make more complicated things. And let me explain what I mean. So if you have a house, it's made out of parts, right? So let me show you what I mean. It's made out of these parts here, right? If you are making a house, you are not going to insert a house. Like if you search up house, nothing's going to show up. But one of the basic building blocks of every Roblox game is a part, right? So if you want to start building, you would go to Insert Basic Objects. The title kind of implies what it does, but you would insert a basic object like a part. Or if you wanted to add, you know, let's go insert a decal here, right? And you would just click and you just insert a decal instead of the part. That is a basic object. And you can look at all these different basic objects because these are the things that make up every single Roblox game that you've ever played, right? So if I want to insert some sparkles in here, I would literally just go here, type up sparkles, click, and I just inserted sparkles in my game. So imagine players are hatching eggs in your game and you want to have like a little sparkle effect. That's how you would do it, by inserting a basic object. And just to show you also how you could use the toolbox in a different way, you could go to decals here because we inserted a decal, and I apparently found a cat with a gun. I'm gonna right click, copy asset ID, click the decal, go to properties, modify the property, paste in the texture, and now we have a cat with a gun in my game. That's kind of cool. So you can see how all of these different windows work together, right? So that is the Insert Basic Objects tab, and you can insert so many things, so many things. And the final tab that I think you should have open is the Assets Manager. So Window and Assets Manager. Now, I haven't uploaded this place to Roblox yet, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. But when you upload a place to Roblox, this is going to become visible. So I should probably just do that. So just go to File. And this is also something that you should know, is how to save. So if you go to File and then Save to File, you could save this to your PC. If you go to Publish to Roblox, you're going to upload this game to Roblox. I'm going to keep it as Untitled Game. I am going to decide that it's going to be available on all devices. Team Create, I'm going to cover in a second. Just keep that on. Data sharing, it's up to you if you want to allow Roblox to train their AI models on your game. I'm going to click No and just click Create. And that's going to make the game available on your profile or wherever you upload it to. And now all of a sudden, the game is on Roblox's servers. It's being saved automatically when you leave, if you run Team Create, right? And players can play your game if you make it public. Like, the game actually exists on Roblox now. It's not public yet, but the game exists, right? So as you can see here, if I go to Asset Manager, you can see that we got a bunch of different options now. So you can click on every single one of these to add things to your place. So the Asset Manager basically lets you manage assets. That's a very simple term. But what I mean is, if you want to upload an image from your PC to your game, you'd go to Image and add images, just like that. Or if you want to upload a mesh, or a model, or a sound, or if you want to have a new place inside of your place, right? So if you have, for example, a tower defense game, and you want to send players to the game world, you would create a place inside of the Asset Manager. This is a bit more advanced, so if that confused you a little bit, just don't pay too much attention to that. Just know that it is a very, very, very valuable thing to have in your arsenal, because if you're gonna make more complicated games, it's definitely good to have, right? So the next thing, and you already saw me do this, it's how to test and why. So imagine I'm making, I don't know, I'm gonna go to trending in the toolbox, see what's going on. Imagine I'm making a Tommy gun game where you go upstairs and then collect Brainrots at the top. I don't know. This is probably all gonna fall down. I'm scared. But how do I actually play this? How do I test and make sure that this works the way I want it to? How do I make sure that I can actually collect the Tommy gun, go up the stairs, and then end up at the top here and get to the Brainrots? Well, it's funny you asked. Roblox gives you a very easy way to do this through testing. So top left here, you've got this selection panel here. Click that, drop down menu comes up, and you have a bunch of different options. If you want to play by yourself, click test, and then there's this blue play button here. Click that, you're gonna spawn in. Oh look, nothing dropped. Nice. Walk over, you got a Tommy gun. Fantastic. I'm gonna go up the staircase. Amazing. And I'm gonna get to the Brainrot. Right? So it works. Fantastic. If you want to test out the game and spawn in a specific place, like directly at the top, so you don't have to go up the stairs every time, you click test here and click play. And wherever your camera is where your player will spawn. Next, if you want to test the game but not spawn any player at all, you would just click run. Click play, and now the server is live. And you can test it out like that. So if something wasn't anchored, so anchored is when something is stuck in place, right? So let's disable that from the properties menu here. If you're in Studio like this, you're not gonna see this drop down. This is only gonna fall down when you're actually in a live game. So how would you test this out? You would start a server just like this. You would test play in Studio without the character. So I click run, and as you can see, it fell because now physics, like the physics service that Roblox provides, is active, gravity works, all that stuff, right? So you see that that's quite handy, and it can help you test out your games when you're making them. The other thing, if you're working with teammates, and I'll cover teammates in a second, but if you're working with teammates, the thing that if you want to test out, just like we did here with the test, but with your team, you would click team test. So if you were with your friend making a game and you wanted to test out that staircase Tommy gun gameplay situation we had earlier, you would click team test, you would click play, it's going to launch a window, and then your friend should also do the same thing, and you're all gonna go into the same server in Studio. So that's not actually going to take you to play the game on the website. It's going to be like its own separate thing that no one can see you do on the website. It's very private. It's good for testing and making games, right? And if you wanted to, say, make a game by yourself where you have no friends, and you had a situation where you had to test a two-player feature, you might say that you have to spawn in with 2 players. And you would be right. How would you spawn in with 2 players or more, right? So let me give you a use case here so I can explain better. There's a Tommy gun here. How do I make sure that when I shoot someone, it's gonna damage them? Well, you would create a private 2-player testing server. So go up here, click server and clients. You can choose how many players you want to spawn in. Be careful because the more players you select, the more it's gonna break your PC if you have a bad PC, so be careful. But I'm gonna click 2, I'm gonna click that, and you're only gonna see 1 tab open up because I have 3 monitors and you're only gonna see the middle one. So there we go. Yep. And you can see that I spawned in here and there's another player. That's actually me on another screen. Let me jump. But the point is, let me walk over, grab the Tommy gun, and I died. So we tested that to make sure that the gun actually works there, right? And to end this, all you need to do is go up here and click end session. and it's going to bring you back over here. Now, the next thing, because we basically covered everything we need to that you have to know about in the basic tab, right, is the avatar tab up here. You only really need to know that you can animate with this tab, right? So if you click setup down here, I don't know why it opened it up way there, but let's click that. If you want to set up something, you could click that, but that's not very important and you actually don't need to know that. You just click character, you click a rig, so R15 or R16, feminine or masculine, and just generate that in a blocky avatar, right? And if you were building, that would be very useful, like the way I use free models basically from the toolbox to check your scale. But if you want to animate something for your game, say you want to have a flip animation, you would first build a rig, click this animation button up here, click on your rig, and just basically click plus, click whatever you want to animate. I just use add all body, right? And then you can start animating. And I have a tutorial video on how to animate on my channel. Just go watch that if you want to know how. But basically, you can see you could move the character in any kind of way. So if I do this and then do that, this is going to be funny. And then I do that. And then I do that and loop this. You can see that it kind of animates the character. So if you want to have a really wonky looking walking animation, you could you could implement this. But that's a very basic example of how to use this. Then you would upload that to the Roblox website and use the animation for your game, right? But you only need to know that you should be able to animate with that tab. I don't really use any of the other options, to be honest. Next, the UI tab. It's if you want to make UI. So in your games or in any game that you've ever played, you've got two things you can see and interact with. You've got the 3D stuff, the actual world, and then you have the 2D stuff. The 2D stuff is on your screen. It's the buttons you click, the menus you open. You know, if someone sends you a trade request, you accept it. That's UI. And to make stuff like that, you have to go up here, click UI, and you can click on GUI up here, right? And it creates a screen GUI. A screen GUI is basically just a container that, you know, contains all the aspects you need to show the player something, like a frame. So a frame is literally just a blank kind of object that you can resize and place around. And as you can see, if you click on the frames or other things you create, right, you can resize them and you could do cool things. Say I wanted to have like a message at the top of my screen, right? Let me just move this. And I want to make it black like that. And then say I want to have a text over there. Let's resize that, right? And I'm just going to say this is a cool game, like for more updates, right? And I'm going to tweak around with some properties here. You don't need to know what I'm doing. You just need to know that you can do this if you know, tweak stuff from properties. As you can see, you've got some UI in your game now. So if I click play, oh, I started the server by mistake, my bad. And there we go. Let me just wait for it to shut down. There we go. So click test. So if I spawn in now, you can see that there's a UI at the top of my screen that says this is a cool game, like for more updates, right? So that's what the GUI, well, the UI/GUI tab is for. The script UI, to be honest, you don't need to really use this at all. The only valuable thing from this tab, unless you are an advanced scripter, is the output window here. And this is something I always keep open. This is gonna show you any warnings that you might have when you're coding. So if something's broken, like apparently something's broken here, something's missing, right? Or it failed to load a sound or something like that from your scripts, it's gonna warn you in the output panel. right? So that's a very important thing if you're learning how to script. If you're not learning how to script, you don't need the output panel, right? But I always keep it open because I am a scripter. So that's the script tab. The model tab, very important. I'll be back in a second to that. And then you've got plugins. Plugins are just additional things that you can add to your Roblox Studio to make your life easier. You could literally just click plugins up here and either manage your plugins and click this plus button here, and it's going to take you to the plugins marketplace where you can find any plugin you want, really. Like if you're looking for, I don't know, an FPS visualizer so you can see how much FPS your game has, then you would click that. Be careful what plugins you install because they can have malicious code. Just make sure they have good ratings. But again, this is really beyond the scope of the video. It's just going to help you with specific things if you install plugins. Like if you want to have the ability to edit your data stores, you can pay $9.99 to Slightnick, very good developer by the way, and have the ability to edit data stores. And plugins are made by other users, right? So that's something useful to know. Back to the model section. The model section is what you use to build in your game. So what I'm gonna do now is explain what these do, and then I'm gonna build a very simple quick house so you can see how to use all of these windows together, right? So you've got the select tool up here. It's so you can select things. So if I don't select this, you see if I put my mouse over the spawn, nothing happens. If I equip the select tool by clicking on it, you can see that there's a highlight around it. That means if I click, it's going to be selected like this, and I can drag things around with that tool. I then can move them up and down like that. I can scale them up, so that's going to resize things. I can rotate it, or I could transform it. It's kind of the same thing, but in one tool, right? There you go. And if you want to modify the studs at which you use these tools at, you would modify these numbers up here. And to really explain this, if you have no concept of studs, it's so you see these, it's like Roblox's meters or feet unit measurements. So a meter or a foot in Roblox is called a stud, right? So if you import a part over here, if I modify the size to 111, that is 1 by 1 by 1 studs. That's the unit of measurement. And as you can see, it's going to fit within these squares here. That's 1 stud, right? So if I want to move things by 10 stud increments, I would modify this to 10, click, and as you can see, if I just move up, it's going to move them in 10 stud increments, just like that. I could do the same for rotation. So if I want to rotate these in 15 stud increments, I would just do that. Or if I want to do that at 45-degree increments, I would just modify that, right? Now, I promised I would make a small, very quick house to show you how to use all these tools together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to delete these brainrots because they're causing ugly shadows. I'm going to make the base plate green, just like that. And I'm going to make the simplest house ever, right? So let's create the wall. Let's just make it like a very cartoonish blue house. So that's going to be the doorway. So here's the thing. How do I know if this is big enough for me to fit in? Insert a noob, just like that. Copy, paste, Control-C is the key right there. And resize that. We're going to then scale it to create a wall, just like that. Move the wall back. And then we're going to scale. There you go. Resize that. But this wall here, so when I duplicate things, it's Control-D or right-click, duplicate. Or it's basically the equivalent of copying, but it keeps things in the same place and it's just very useful. Anyway, so resize that, copy, paste. Let's do that. So I'm just going to create a quick window. So I scale it by 10 studs there. Let's actually make it 12 studs. There we go. And bring these down. Got a very decent sized window. Let's create the glass. Just like that. Change the transparency. You got a window. Let's move you outside. Let's create a floor, because we don't have a floor. That's not a great thing. But there you go. Now, here's the thing. You could select things like this, group them by pressing Ctrl-G or right-click group as a model. I'm gonna cut it by clicking Ctrl-X, click on the part I want to spawn on, Ctrl-V to paste it in, or right-click paste, and we have the base, or the house on the floor, which is the base of the house, right? I'm gonna copy that to create a bit of a roof, and that's a very lazy roof on my part. Let me just rotate it by 15 degrees, and again, not gonna align perfectly, but that's 10 studs. Move it by 10 studs there. Move it by 10 studs. Rotate like that. Boom, boom. You get the gist, right? I mean, I'm not gonna finish this because it's gonna take me longer than I want, because this is already a pretty long video. But you can see how this would help you create anything you want to build. Let me just do that, and let's recolor that to a darker red, and then yeah, we might want to do that because you've got some Z fighting issues there. There you go. You've got a very long roof there. So I'm just going to rotate it by that. 14, 14. Yeah, so that's a very, very basic house. I didn't even complete the roof, because then I would need to insert a wedge part, right? And I would need to position this, and I don't have time for that, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna just do one, and then I'll show you. I'm gonna make that color not matching on purpose to trigger some people, but also to help you visualize and see what different parts are doing, right? So as you can see, I closed the gap there, right? And that's a very basic house, and you can test here, play, and it spawns. Why did this fall apart? Well, this is a classic rookie mistake. Like, if you're making something and you're building on Roblox, make sure that you select everything by holding Alt, selecting, and then anchoring it. That means it's stuck in place, it's not going anywhere, it won't fall apart. Right, so that's what happened there. We're in our house, it's cozy, kind of. You can see this random yellow and blue creature outside. Yeah, that's how you build on Roblox, and that's how you use these tabs together. Right, some extras which are worth, knowing about. First thing is the material generator. So if you go to window, and then let's try and find it, the material generator, right? It can help you generate material textures with AI, which is pretty cool. So let's say I don't like how this grass looks. I'm gonna type in grass, right? It's going to create a material for me. I'm gonna find the base plate, get ready. I'm gonna wait for the AI to do its thing, and I'm gonna find a texture which I like. And if you don't like a texture, you can just click this generate button there. But I like that one. And as you can see, it's showing me what it would look like, right? Because I selected it. I'm going to decrease the studs per tile. I'm gonna make the pattern organic. As you can see, that creates a very nice texture. I'm gonna make... Actually, I don't need to set a base material. I'm just gonna apply the variant. Actually, you do need to apply the base material. I'm just gonna put that as smooth plastic. Save and apply. It's saving the texture. You can see here it overwrote the material variant. And now it is grass. And I'm just gonna color that, make it a bit lighter, just like that. And we have a very nice looking grass texture. Right, and this is very useful. You're gonna have realistic looking games, realistic looking wood, realistic looking metal, whatever you wanna make. This is very handy, and it takes no time at all. The next thing, is the texture generator, and this is only if you're working with meshes. So if you're importing a mesh, or you already have a mesh like a sword, like this one here, but you don't like the texture, you could select the, oh, that's not good. So it has to be a mesh part, right? So let me just find something here that I can use, which is a mesh part. That is not a mesh part. Is that a mesh part? Oh boy, okay, this is a water sword. Not a mesh part, wow. Am I gonna have to make one myself for this tutorial? Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy paste that. I'm gonna insert a mesh part from the basic objects, mesh part, and then I'm going to copy the mesh ID. There you go, and then I'm gonna copy the texture. You don't need to know what I did there. I'm not even gonna explain it, I just turned it to a mesh part. Okay, so you just need to know that if you're gonna be using the texture editor or generator, it has to be a mesh part, the thing you're trying to change, right? So you can see it live. Anyway, I'm just gonna close the material generator by clicking the X. I don't need that anymore. And I'm gonna go to Window, 3D, Texture Generator. I'm gonna select the sword and say I'm not happy with that sword. So I'm gonna set the generation angle, which is basically the angle at which you're gonna see the previews for the textures. So I like that angle. Click that and say I want a, I don't know, a wooden red sword. I'm gonna click preview, and you could obviously adjust, actually I'm gonna do that just so you can see. You can adjust the art style here by adding images. I'm not gonna do that, but you could do that if you wanted to. These are advanced options you don't need to know about. Click preview, and the AI is going to create a texture that hopefully meets your prompt. Most of the time, it doesn't get it first try. Let's see what it did there. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's click save and apply. So it's gonna take about 30 seconds. It's gonna upload the texture to your account, and then it's going to automatically replace the mesh part with the texture you just generated, which is fantastic. And let's just wait for that to do its thing. And it should hopefully give us a beautiful looking red wooden sword. So it's got about a couple seconds left. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good for something that took 30 seconds. Right, so if you want to have reskins, textures players can get in your game, the texture generator is the way to go. Now, if you are a bit bougie and you want your own tab on Roblox, you can do that because of the new update. So up here, if you have a specific workflow, like say mesh editing, right? So if you're a Blender modeler and you constantly import your stuff, you could have a custom mesh editing workflow by creating your own tab and then clicking add tools. And if I'm using the texture generator and the material generator that I just used, and then maybe I'm using the move and then resize, which is scale, right? I could just add them in, and I don't need to look at anything else. They're already up there. So I can just click that, boom, texture generator, material generator, and you can create your own custom workflows just like this. You could also delete your workflows or hide the tabs that you don't want to see, which is pretty handy. Now, I hinted at this before, but you have a collaborate tab up here. So this is basically if you want to invite your friends to work on a game with you live, you could do that. Just enter their username and you could add them, give them different permissions. Like if I want to add my other account, covert code, right? It's going to search up covert code. Unless they are in a group or your friend, you cannot modify the permission you give them. But this could be an editor. This could be actually I forgot what it could be, the other option, but it could be 3 different things as of 2025. And this, if you save, this would give access to covert code to edit your game, right? or play your game in this case. But if you give them edit permissions because they are your friend, then it will give them edit permissions, and they can go edit the same game you're editing. They would hop on here, they could do team tests with you, they could, you know, build things in real time, code with you, do all that sort of stuff, right? So if you want to have for your friends make games with you, do it. It's super fun and it's more engaging, especially if you're a beginner. It's going to help you stay engaged with Roblox development. The final thing, which I think is useful, is the terrain editor, right? So if you go to Window, 3D, Terrain, you've got the terrain editor. It's very, very useful if you're trying to make a specific style of game. So if you want to have a survival game, for example, right, and you want to have your own custom terrain, which isn't just a flat looking, you know, part like this, you could go to here, create or generate. I'm gonna just generate a very small portion. You could generate different types of biomes. It's like Minecraft, if you've ever played Minecraft, but Roblox style. So it generated a bit of terrain here. Let me just generate the terrain up there so it's more visible. We can make it a lot bigger, like 512 by 512, so it's pretty big. Let's add some Arctic areas, some water, and maybe a canyon somehow. Let's make it blend in the terrain. Let's add in some caves. That would be cool, right? Generate, and you can see that it generates the terrain for you. Now, you could also, I believe, let me just deselect this or move that up there. Edit the terrain according to your wishes. So let's say you want to have a little mountain in the middle there. Click edit, and you've got all these tools here, but I'm just going to go with the, I think sculpt would make the most sense here. I'm going to adjust the brush size, and as you can see, if I hold down my mouse, it's going to allow me to sculpt the grass terrain, because that's what I have selected right now. If I click that pavement terrain, it's going to allow me to sculpt pavement terrain. And as you can see, this is very handy if you want to have like a specific style of game, like a survival game, for example, right? So imagine I'm building this pavement canyon looking mountain here, and then I want to subtract instead of add to, and I'm intentionally keeping this broad because you could do whatever you want with these tools. You can have a sea level at let's say 1024 at -4, and you could have sea level there, right? You could do anything you want with these. You could smoothen out the terrain to make it look nicer. You could draw on the terrain like that. You could paint the terrain and, you know, write subscribe to covert code if the brush was small enough, like that. So sub, whatever. You know, you could literally do anything you want with these tools. But the point is, you have the option to do that, right? And you get to do that through the terrain editor tab, and you could mess around. It's quite fun. I think this is the easiest way for you to make a decent looking game if you don't know how to build, because the terrain is just so easy to make and it doesn't look that bad, right? So definitely get to learning how to use the terrain editor, and that's essentially how to use Roblox Studio. I mean, if you know how to use all of these tabs and then you start learning how to script, check out my Zero to Hero series if you want to learn how to script. You could very easily make a game on Roblox, because we just covered how to build, we covered how to make really nice looking terrain, we covered how to import models if you get stuck, we covered how to use, you know, every basic tab that you need to understand how to use. And then if you add scripting to that, which is what powers your game, you're really not missing anything. So, what I advise for you to take the next steps is to get to learning how to script. It is very important. but only do that after you understand how to use Roblox Studio. Get comfortable with Roblox Studio because it's going to be the thing that you're going to be seeing basically every day if you're committed enough. And if you get stuck, rewind, use this video as your guide, post a comment. I will reply if you have a question. And yeah, get to development.